Oh, I assume that means we're streaming. I know everyone will be watching this on the delay, whatever. Hello, it's Sunday night, it's 8 o'clock, and you're watching Let's Kill Twitter with me, Julian Hall. This is the show that aims to detox your timeline with the art of conversation. Luckily, I don't have to do that alone, and this week my guest is comedian Holly Byrne, who is hot-footing her way to us as we speak. So just a bit of admin before we get on with the show. Obviously, I love this bit. It's like my mantra. We are live to you now on YouTube, on Facebook Live and on Twitch. The record of the show will be available on Facebook Live and on YouTube afterwards. Please, so if you've missed any of it or you can think of anyone else who'd like to see the show, please do direct them there, and please obviously give us a like and a follow on those respective channels. But crucially, of course, please do follow us at LKTZoom, which is our Twitter handle. You can see it on my little byline here. It will be on the ticker that's scrolling above my head. And of course, on the share screen with a massive Twitter feed next to me. So that would be great because during the show, we will be, you can tweet your questions, comments, suggestions to us. You can send us your favourite tweets as we go through the show, and we will pick them up as much as we can. So that would be great. It's all part of the interactive fun that is live Zoom casting. Also, when the show's done, we'll be tweeting out clips to the timeline and also news of the next show, of course. And, a selection of carefully curated tweets of the week. Now, tonight it's the guests' tweets that are the most important, but the rest of the week I do sort of retweet what I think has been sort of great fun. And thanks to the US Open last night, I managed to catch up with Twitter. Been a bit lazy the early part of the week, I thought. But last night was obviously great fun, and we have got quite a few tweets on the tennis. So Holly's not with us at the moment, but I'm just going to run down her impeccable credentials with you so we can get that bit out of the way before I release her from the Zoom waiting room. So Holly is a comedian, an actor and writer, and I've known Holly from her work in Edinburgh, and she's actually now done 7 solo shows up there. She's also known for her portrayal of the nightmare bridesmaid Jemma in ITV's hit Bad Bridesmaid, which is great. It's a bit of heightened reality stuff. That was really good knockabout stuff. Holly's also known for a viral internet spoof of Victoria Beckham's Vogue 73 Questions. Hello, Martin. And she starred in Harry Hill's Clubnite on Channel 4 as well, which is a great watch. It's great to have that on telly. Holly's been touted everywhere as one to watch and has received endorsements from Harry Hill, Eddie Izzard, Stuart Leigh, James Acaster, Arthur Smith and Milton Jones. A pretty stellar lineup of testimonials there. And some fantastic reviews as well. Eddie Izzard's quote was particularly fun. Eddie described Holly as sexy and bonkers like Twin Peaks. Well, we'll see how true that is in a mere few moments. What else can I tell you before Holly arrives? Well, actually, can I get a bit of? Am I allowed to do a bit of admin where because this should be streaming to my personal Facebook page as well, which I'm not sure if it is. So if you'll indulge me to do that, that would be great. This is something that Restream should be doing, but it never seems to work. So we are just going to do that manually now. Yeah, it looks like it can do it. Oh no, people are going to have to see my improvisation. I don't know why I'm doing this to myself. People are going to be subjected to my improvisational skills. But no, get on with it. Yeah, right, Martin. Thank you. Yes, please note, Martin, our regular viewer will be certainly tweeting sort of voraciously tonight. Please join him. Please, doesn't have to be just Martin's voice, comforting though it is. Please get on board. All the details are scrolling above my head permanently throughout the show. It's not at all distracting. It's just informative. I'm gonna get Holly is hot-footing it. She's braved Sunday transport to be with us. You know what that's like. We're gonna see how that goes. Really, no one can really hot-foot it on a bus, can they? It's just not possible. And I believe that trains and buses were involved. So, let's face it, we're gonna be lucky to have her at all, aren't we? So let's have a look. Well, Holly's tweets are like the main focus of tonight, and she's covered some great bases. What with the US Open last night, and the reaction to Emma Raducanu's win. Inevitably, initially joyous, and then usual bit of culture war knockabout. We'll be taking in those angles. But let's have a look. I've got a couple of. Let's just have a look. Let's just see. Holly hasn't texted me. No. See, I've got a couple. We've got a couple here. Well, let's pick out Mark Steele's joke, which is fantastic. I picked that up earlier today. She's won 2.5 million. If she wins another slam, she'll be the only teenager in London who can put a deposit on a flat. I read that slightly syntax error, but you get the idea. So that's really, really cool. What else did I pick out that we might not get time for in the show? Let's have a look. Oh my god! Well, totally unrelated to the tennis. It's a fantastic tweet from Babs Af, and it's so basically picture that I don't know which band it is. Isn't that terrible? If anyone can tell me which, it's a very sort of Fleetwood Mac-y, but it's not Fleetwood Mac. But basically, it's a garden fence and a band, and it looks exactly like one of the security questions that you get when you're logging in. So he's tweeted, select all squares that include members of the seminal British folk rock band. Somebody tell me who the seminal British folk rock band is, because I don't know, and that's bad. I feel like I should know. Just check the tweet. So, right, what else? I'm vamping, as Joey once said in Friends, which is a terrible idea, really. And it's really shown up the fact that I haven't chosen quite enough tweets. Sorry, no, I was kind of relying on you, Martin, to let us know who that was, actually. But there we go. Actually, this is brilliant. Holly's she's entered the waiting room. You'll be pleased to know, folks. Also check that Giles Paley Phillips, and obviously a massive tweeter with happy stuff. Giles Paley Phillips has picked out Michael Winslow, known for Police Academy and so much more, performing Led Zeppelin's Whole Lot of Love. I'm not going to give you a burst of that now. I'm going to let Holly in, but absolutely worth checking out if you haven't already seen it. So, well done, Holly. She's done public transport, and I can now let her in, I hope. Oh, it's so tense, so exciting. Oh, that was pretty quick, Holly. Hello.
Hi, can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. We can see you. We can hear you. You are totally live now. If that's let's just yes.
Okay, great. Sorry.
No, don't apologise. I've just explained to everyone that you've been braving public transport to be with us, and the fact.
Sorry. The public transport thing's nuts. London was weirdly really busy, and nothing was working. And I wasn't going very far or anything, but for some reason it just took forever, and everything was cancelled or delayed. I'd forgotten. You kind of forget the old life, don't you? And you forget how things used to work, and you forget that. And now,
but they never used to work, did they? I don't know.
Exactly, they never used to work, and now they work. They don't work, or they work really, really slowly.
Well, you're here. I mean, I sort of said to everyone that you hot-footed it, but it's actually impossible to hot-foot it when you're in a bus and on public transport. You did very well, to be fair.
Okay, I'm here now. It's
You're
fine.
Here now, and it's fine. So I've done the sort of the Hall of Fame. I didn't read every single review quote that you got, but I've done the sort of the Hollyburn tribute.
Lovely. Well, it's good I wasn't there for that, because that's embarrassing, isn't it?
No.
But it would be nice. It would be nice to hear. So.
Well, it's completely your biography, so it's fine. It's like virtually verbatim. But yeah, I mean, what are you up to now? Because we've gone through a few of your past hits, so to speak.
What am I up to now? What on social media or just generally?
Let's talk IRL and then jump into social media.
IRL, imagine. IRL. Well, it's not. I'm going to be honest, but it's not been a great 18 months. Oh. Crazy, but it hasn't. Let's get to speed. This summer I spent recording, basically in lockdown. I wrote a pilot with David Mills.
Oh yeah.
Do we know David Mills?
Comedian.
And so we wrote a pilot, and then we filmed the pilot in the summer. So I've basically just finished that, and that's sort of taken over things, and that's been great. I've loved doing that, and it's so we're gonna have like a 20-minute pilot, sort of sitcom pilot, which is
very exciting.
Which is really good, and it's kind of refreshing to to think about things not in a live respect, and to think about how to use things and talents in a different way, and that's been really good. And then just I'm trying to collaborate with people a lot more now, and producing stuff. I really enjoy producing stuff, and doing bits of filming. I filmed a part in ITV doing a drama about the guy. Do you remember? He's called shit, I've forgotten his name. The guy who basically
what's his name? Yeah.
What's his name? The guy who, you'll know when I tell you, the guy who went off in a canoe and the wife told the sons he was dead, but he wasn't. It was an insurance job, and he was living in the wife's attic, and then they found them in Peru living the high life.
Oh, do you know what I'm talking about? I mean, really, after that detail, I really should know, but I don't, it rings the vaguest of bells. But
yes, it was like
clearly.
It was like 10 years ago or something, and now, well, it's currently classed as a TV Land. They class it as a period drama.
Yeah,
and it happened in it happened in 2008.
Yeah, it doesn't go under water sports because it's canoeing, does it? So yeah.
Sorry,
it doesn't go under water sports because it's canoeing. So
no, not quite, but a period drama. So I filmed a bit in that, and I'm filming
John Darwin, Canoe Man. By the way, this is Martin, who is like the show's biggest fan, and I thank him very much because he.
That's John Darwin. You're right, Martin. You're right. You know what I'm talking about, Martin. It's got Eddie Marsan in it and Monica Doolan. Anyway, and I'm filming something else, but I can't remember what it is. Anyway,
that's pretty good. You're doing very well.
Bits and bobs.
And are you doing the live circuit at all?
Well, I have. I've done a few gigs. Not loads. I'm sort of a bit pick and choose about what I do. I mean, it comes to a point where you get a bit sick of doing basements to, a handful of people.
What about an upstairs room in a pub? You can do my new comedy night if you like.
I'll do an upstairs room in a pub any day. It's just in a basement puts me off, Julian.
Right, excellent. It's all about levels, isn't it? Really. I will let you.
About levels.
I'll talk to you after the show about that
it's
night.
Psychological.
Oh, fantastic!
So yeah, I mean, I sort of pick and choose what. I do I have been gigging and I am gigging. So yes. Okay,
brilliant. Yeah, yes, it's fine. We can tick that box. Let's just very quickly tell viewers who really enjoyed my slightly stumbling intro. I really enjoyed the kind of the spot you put me in where I had to kind of fill time there, Holly. It was good. It was like I felt alive. But I did pick out one tweet. Oh God, where's it gone now? I hope it doesn't disappear. Where it is, this one here. Select all squares that include members of a seminal British folk rock band. So it's basically the security. It's a garden fence, but it looks like one of those security questions.
Yeah.
It's Fairport Convention. So thank you, Marty. That's another Martin special there.
I didn't get that.
Just in case people wanted to know, because I didn't know. So now that segues quite nicely into a life online. What are you like online is essentially the question.
What am I like online? Well, probably not great. I think my favorite one is Instagram. I like Instagram the most because I am quite a visual person, and Twitter I sort of dip in and dip out, and I hate all the confrontation, so I don't enjoy that. I don't get involved in anything. My stuff doesn't really comic-wise. My stuff doesn't really work very well in 160 characters, let's face it.
160? What about the other 80 you're allowed? It was 240 now.
Oh, you're allowed now?
Yeah, you heard it here first. They went from 180 to 2... Was that right? 180 to 240? I don't know. It's like 2 years ago, 3 years ago? I don't know.
Well, there you go.
Welcome
there
to
you
our
go.
world.
I'm learning every day. So there you go. There's an example of how I'm at Twitter. So I use it for most, so last night with the whole,
Yes.
tennis
Tennis. Yeah.
fiasco. If there's
What
something,
do you mean fiasco? You have to clarify that.
no, I mean I loved it. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
But I'm good when I get engaged when I'm fits and starts. Basically, I might not tweet for months, and then something like that. If I feel like I've got some, I'll put a bit out about that. But I'll promote something or I'll retweet. Yeah, I'm not great. That's what I'm saying.
I know what you mean. I mean, I know this sort of your stick, and I know it doesn't necessarily. I mean, if it's I mean, I guess if it's sort of clips of stuff, then it doesn't really matter which medium it is, really. But...
Yeah, no, totally. And obviously that has helped me a lot. But I also feel that I kind of I sort of gained a bit when the internet was all young and fresh, and now I've sort of kind of gotten a bit. I haven't sort of ridden the wave of it, as it were. I think
when the internet was all young and fresh, that's almost as long ago as 9/11. Quite honestly, so there's probably people watching this. I hope.
I mean, when I say young and fresh, I don't mean that young and fresh. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. I mean, I hear that. I mean, Instagram does seem to be. Generally, people find that sort of fluffier and nicer and what have you, and Twitter's is a bit more harder edged.
It's much more combative, isn't it? And I'm not, and I don't want to have debates, and I don't really want to. Yeah, and Facebook's not a thing, is it? And it's a thing for like parents.
Yeah,
I feel like it's for people's parents. It's like people's dads posting videos of things they shouldn't. Do you know what I mean? It's not.
I think they get banned for that, don't they? Surely.
Well, they should be banned for it. That's true.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, Facebook is an odd one in the sense that sometimes the debates on Facebook can get as gnarly as they can on Twitter. And the thing about Facebook is that they will be debates between people who are friends. Whereas I mean, Twitter, you probably don't know anyone, and you're never going to meet them again necessarily. So you just sort of like people go in. But there is that. I mean, I probably said this before, but there is always certainly. Of generation ago, when in terms of social media generations, people always used to say, "Oh, people would never be like people on Twitter are not. They wouldn't be like that in real life." Essentially, is the gist of it. It's like, yeah, they want to be, but they can't be, and then Twitter's obviously sort of unboxed them.
And I think it's really fascinating about trolls and about who people's real selves are, and how. They're probably lonely. People feel disenfranchised and all sorts of problems, and they just use it to vent their spleen, which in normal life they wouldn't. There's never been a forum like this in the whole history of society where there's been something you can have combat, and you can be so unpleasant to people and not have any, and to be anonymous and to not have any repercussions. And the only thing that it's most like is like the stocks in the market square.
I was thinking of gladiators. I was thinking the sort of gladiator sort of arenas then, but
Yeah, I mean, it's like, but even the stocks would be, you'd know who it was, and it would be, but this is just.
Yeah. It's all kind of. Yeah, I had a brilliant analogy earlier on this morning, which I completely forgotten about Twitter. But I mean, there's not a day goes by when Twitter doesn't offer up some kind of analogy, really. But I mean, I thought. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, I thought yesterday with the tennis fiasco, as I said, I thought actually it because a lot of the time I'm not on it, but yesterday I was on it because of the tennis thing. And it felt really good yesterday, and it felt really fun, and like there was really good jokes, and there was really fun stuff, and it was just a really nice atmosphere. But most of the time I avoid it because it's not.
Yeah, but it was a bit of a game. I know tennis isn't a game of two halves, but it was a bit of a game of two halves in some respects. So you're absolutely right. Last night was fantastic. I had in the back of my mind that you were a bit of a tennis fan, and so it transpires. And I loved tennis when I was a kid as well. And, attempts to resurrect that and play again have not been successful, but whatever.
Oh, really?
Well, but we all have in the back of our heads like, oh, God, I really wish I'd been a professional tennis player. I don't know why. That there is, and that came out across quite a lot on Twitter, and obviously that
Did
whole.
it?
Well, there's certainly that very much of like, gosh, what was I doing when I was 18? There was a
Oh
lot
yes,
of
there was a lot of that.
equivalents of that, but I think there
Yeah,
were
there
a
was a
few
lot of that.
frustrated tennis players in there as well. But I love it when there's whether it's like the US election or whether it was last night or I'm trying to think of another good example where Twitter kind of or even some of the Dom
Cummings.
Cummings stuff was quite sort of there was a whole stream of stuff which you could get on board with for a particular period of time and really
Well, I
feel
suppose
good energy.
a common enemy, or it's a community. It is a community. So I guess everything that all those type of things that you have in a normal community, you have in.
It's the first, yeah, and it's one of the ways. Like you're saying, there's a fairly sort of bonding sort of moment in the sense that last night was all about the tension of the game, and then afterwards there's kind of the relief of winning, and there was obviously some great jokes around it, but they weren't the kind of, they weren't sort of detrimental to the enjoyment.
No, not at all. No, it's just fun.
But subsequently to that, that's now you get all of the kind of, there was inevitably going to be like, well, let's get back to what Piers Morgan said, and there was inevitably going to be stuff about immigration and all the rest of it. I mean, we should probably take this opportunity to jump into your tweets because you've set some really good ones on this. Now,
to be honest, today I haven't seen the whole. I can imagine what's been said, but I haven't seen any of it today in terms of people's, the stuff about immigration or whatever. Apart from,
Well, I mean, you picked out one from David Lammy, which we'll get to as well. And then there's a couple of kind of non-tennis ones as well that we've picked out, and one of which goes back to our earlier conversation, really. But so Piers Morgan. Let's see the tweet that he's quote tweeting. So Leanne Prescott, football writer, BT Sport, 5 Live, right? Okay. Didn't know that. That's informed me. That's useful. A bad day for Piers Morgan means a huge win for mankind. Maybe people should try a little more to encourage young talents instead of dragging them down. To which Piers Morgan's replied, a bad day, I'm totally vindicated. She took my advice and won.
So, because this is about Wimbledon, isn't it? And it's about her when she was out of breath. She had heart.
She kind of, she was kind of like sort of anxiety thing, but it was certainly physical,
And he said she should have he basically said she should have just risen to the moment and kept going, basically, didn't he? Sort of thing.
Yeah, sort of. Everyone was expecting to sort of troop on through. Essentially, I mean, there was John McEnroe. There was a bit. John McEnroe was sort of the touch paper in this because I think Piers Morgan came into it when John McEnroe had sort of basically said, well, if you get to the top, you've got to have a particular mindset and yada yada yada. I mean, he wasn't sort of being brutal, but he was being pretty blunt about it. And then when Piers Morgan came and sort of added to that, then there was quite a big backlash as it was.
I mean, I think, as a I'm not on this world stage, but as a performer, that is definitely, and it's, of course, like John McEnroe's the epitome of like just kind of I guess carrying on through it all, and he just got nasty through it, didn't he? But
except that sometimes his way of carrying on through it all initially was to really rub up against.
Well, yes. But I think being a performer, it is that thing about, and I think it was at the same sort of time as Naomi Osaka and all that business where she and Simone Biles. So it's very, So I feel that there is a point at which, if you're in something like this where it is about, in comedies, sort of very. I always think, because I played tennis a lot as a child. I had a lot of coaching. I was in a lot of clubs and a lot of leagues and all that kind of thing. And I started to replay, a few years ago, and the similarity between comedy and tennis is, and the way I play tennis and the way I do my comedy, exactly the same. I mean, honestly,
Tell
I know
us how. Otherwise, I'm just imagining some
so.
sort of
So
like. Do you
basically,
forget one day and then just do the other by accident?
so basic.
I've seen your shows. I think that's what happens.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a game of it's all about what's going on up here. It's all about your mental. It's all about your yeah, it's all about your mental health. It's all about your psychology. It's you on your own, nobody else.
Mm.
You're there. It's all about being in the moment. It's all about not beating yourself up, not putting too much pressure on yourself. It's all about being relaxed, being comfortable, being confident, being sure that you can do it, and not being negative. And it's all about your psychological mindset. And to be a professional at these things, you need to get to the point where your mindset is at such a point where you're. I mean, I'm saying this, I don't know how to do that, but um, because the mental pressure it takes is huge, and the impact it takes on your psychology is huge, and that is the game, is being able to hold your nerve
Yeah, yeah.
in both comedy and in tennis.
I mean, one thing that strikes me is that the only difference being is that you don't get a trainer on unless if you've done your knee in comedy, unless of course you play jonglers, maybe. I don't know.
Doesn't work, doesn't exist anymore, does it? So that says that.
No, well, yes, that's the only example I could pluck.
I mean,
so,
yeah. No, you just get, yeah.
So where are you on Piers Morgan then, essentially?
So here's the thing about Piers Morgan, right? My thing is, if somebody's getting prodded at, I usually have a tendency to be like, like he gets paid a lot of money. He's there to be, of course, he's going to say he's there to be prick everybody's, and
just prick, is it? Yeah. He's
what?
there to be a prick. No.
Do you know what I mean? But that's his thing, isn't it? Like he's not going to go.
Yeah.
You know, that's what he's paid to do, is to stir the whole thing. And kind of like, I quite enjoy him being a bit uppity, and I kind of think, and also he does give a different perspective to, you know, I don't necessarily agree with him, but like, I just think it's, at least he keeps it a bit fresh.
Yeah, okay. Well, that's interesting.
And I mean, no, I mean, a bad day, I've been totally vindicated. She took my advice and will. He knows he's just pressing buttons. He does it on purpose. People shouldn't get so blinking uppity about it. He knows he's not an idiot. He knows what he's doing. It's all a show. He's just about Piers Morgan. Everybody in the public eye is just about themselves. You know, he's there because he makes money through it.
Yeah, well, I mean, look,
he's contentious.
It is a fair point. I mean, I didn't know if you're going to come on and sort of, have a pop at him. And fair play. I mean, actually, I think that statement, he's obviously smiling as he sort of tweets that. Yeah. But he let the door open for people to kind of. I mean, Shappy Corsani, I haven't got that tweet, but she sort of said, "Aren't they cute at this age?" or something like that, which is basically like. You know, she didn't use the word gammon at all, but she's basically saying, "Oh, you know, men of a certain age,
Yeah, I mean, of course.
But. Yeah, I mean, he does. It's going to be. It's no biggie to him. I mean, it's interesting. I watched Piers Morgan's interview with Cristiano Ronaldo a couple of nights ago, and I can just imagine him in years to come having a similar sort of interview with Emma Raducanu, and What
was it like?
Yeah, it was good. It was. I mean, it was kind of like quite emotional and what have you, and it was quite good to see a bit of Ronaldo off the pitch, and this is just before he obviously played for United again. But yeah, I mean, he plays both sides of sort of human nature sort of reasonably well, and I mean, as a pantomime baddie, he's sort of cleans up.
Yeah,
really,
I mean, that's what he's employed to do. That's what he likes doing. That's what everybody. And then the more people make a hullabaloo about it, the more he'll do it. I mean, yeah, she didn't take his advice. She didn't win because of him. Obviously, she won because she's incredible. It was absolutely, it's phenomenal.
Do you think ultimately it seems to bear out that she did? She made the right decision to take the pressure off herself at Wimbledon, and she could then recoup for another Grand Slam. I mean,
Yeah, of
seems to
course
make
she did the
sense,
right
yeah.
thing. Of course, if she's, of course she did. And I mean, yeah, and it must be absolutely frightening. But she didn't look one bit like the yesterday. She was just like nothing could fit. I mean, it was just remarkable, that wasn't it? It was just like somebody said to me today, "Oh, it's really Tiger Woods vibes," and it is totally. I mean, it was just like
I thought they
she's
were
not.
very. I have to say, I thought they were very focused, both of them actually.
Yeah,
And
amazing.
there were just a few. There were just a few. Obviously, there were more errors from Layla. So but they both. Everybody
But
wants to
like,
see them play again. I mean, people are just dying to see, Emma Raducanu at Wimbledon,
yeah.
aren't they? Really?
But I mean, but the thing is, she her face when she won, like, how was she not? She didn't cry. She didn't emote at all. She did. She went on the floor, but after that, I mean, she was so like that is like so sort of like old, very together and very sort of like it's remarkable how sort of together she is. 18. Wow, I wouldn't be able to function like that.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, I do think that with the way sports has gone on and the way the kind of wellness, I don't know I don't know anything about her routine, but I don't know whether she sort of uses mindfulness or meditation or whether she comes from that kind of background that does. But you've got to wonder because she has somebody on the commentary team, I can't remember who it was, pointed out that on the one hand, she exuded this kind of like, yeah, of course I'm going to do this, and on the other hand, there was a kind of disbelief as well.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, I heard that. That was a good point. But also, she's got her her mum's Chinese, so has got that. She said, "I owe this to my mum's work ethic and her that Chinese culture is very the temperament is
focused and conscientious, I think.
Yeah, and clearly, like that was clear. That isn't it's not a very British trait in terms of that's we're much more sort of self-effacing and sort of I know she's British. I'm not saying she's not British, but I'm saying that the Chinese side of her is it's a different way of, and we're less sort of like the Brits tend to be less good in competition, less kind of the British
There is a
spirit
bit of loss of bottle sometimes. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, so you picked out a couple of other tweets, which have so on from the night itself. There's been a couple of interesting ones tonight. Let's have a look. Well, not tonight, sorry. About other angles. So it's the front page of the Sunday Times. Do you want to read this one out? The one that you picked, James Stafford.
Wow, the Times gets in early with one of the worst angles on a fantastic sporting story I have ever seen. This is their lead sport headline right now. And the sport headline is Raducanu is girl next door who could be bigger than the Kardashians. I mean, I didn't read it because I don't have an
account. I should
an
have told
account.
Should tell me. I'd have wished it over.
Did you read it?
No, I know, but I've got an account.
I mean, this is also, I suppose it's. Did you see when they were on the podium as well? When somebody in the commentary box said something like, "Oh, I think they might have been on the podium. I can't remember. Oh, thank you for the tennis and your smiles."
Yeah, that's right.
That?
Yeah.
Something like that.
It was the guy
I think
who
it was
was
a
like the
guy
from the US sort of.
And was he was on
LTA
the
equivalent, I think.
court there, wasn't he? He was on the court, I think. He said, "Thank you for your tennis and for your smiles." And this is a similar sort of, I mean, yeah, it's
a bit unfortunate. I mean, it's just like, why does that? I mean, if that was in the Sunday Times style section, okay, yeah, maybe you could let it go. Not that they have a headline, but
I didn't know this was front page.
Well, it's obviously it's the front. Yeah. It must be. It looks like it might be the sport front page of the app or something. So he says sort of.
I mean, I get it.
Headline on the event.
So I mean, in one respect, yes, I agree. She's in line to earn a lot of money.
Yeah. No. Well. Yeah.
That's one thing. Yeah. She's the girl next door. I mean, because she's pretty. But the relevant. I mean, is it? I don't know if the article is saying she's in line to make a lot of money, which she is. But but the problem is of course lining her up with people like the Kardashians who aren't I was gonna say they're not talented, but they are talented. They're definitely talented. They've just got special talents, which isn't quite as they're not quite they're.
But it's weird because how many? I mean, I don't get it. She's a sports person, so why does she have to be put in the same stable? I know it's a headline, and you know, to be fair, headlines very often do not represent, do not necessarily represent the art. But at the end of the day, they're chosen as headlines, and once you've sort of capped something off with that, then that's the kind of sword you die by, quite honestly.
Yeah, of course. And because the minute you mention the K word, it's like an immediate, you know, it's touch paper, isn't it? When you mention them. So
it's almost like is she gonna get a similar show to the Kardashians? Because the Kardashians are over now in terms of TV terms. It's like, you know, it's not like it's going to be her next move. It's like, yeah, I've won one Grand Slam. That's enough. That's it now. It's time for some reality telly.
Well, yeah, no, exactly. I mean, but the thing about this is more than anything in terms of, as well as the smiles thing, is you're not going to get that about a male tennis player, are you? You're not going to get the smiles. Oh, thanks for your tennis and your smile. You're not going to get you're not going to get this about the boy next door who could be bigger than.
Yeah, no, that's true. Well, there's no male equivalent of the Kardashians, is there anyway? So, but
no, that's what I was trying to think. Yeah. I couldn't think of anybody.
But I mean,
you just wouldn't get that about a man. You would just get. You might get something. You're right in the style section about his, I don't know, grooming or something, but you wouldn't get a front page thing when he's just done something monumental and historic, and you know.
If they want to have a cheesy headline, then they should have had something like, you know, what's Greg Rosetsky's health regime, because the man has not aged a day. What is that about? Did you notice? Do you not notice that?
Oh, I thought he had.
Oh, you're kidding, aren't you?
Did you?
No way. I mean, he looks the same. He looks like he could have just gone out there and, you know, knocked a few around with Tim Henman or something. So.
Oh, I thought the Tim Henman moments were nice, weren't they? When he did that.
Yeah, that was sweet. I did you enjoy the highly branded Amazon Prime coverage? I
know. What did you watch it on Prime or did you watch it on Channel 4?
Well, I mean, was that not the same? Were we not watching the same?
I mean, I think we probably were, but I was streaming from Prime.
Okay, yeah. So essentially, in the studio you had Greg Rosetsky, and then you had you had Tim Henman, obviously. Doing like the interviews, and he was interviewing Mark Petchin, and then the microphones was like massive branding, and the studio was kind of.
I know, I've never seen that studio before. Is that a new thing?
I've never watched sport on Amazon Prime. I mean, I was about to until Channel 4 kind of won the day, and I was about to send some tweet about, gosh, the branding on Channel 4. But I was thinking, well, hang on a minute, this is all from Amazon, surely. It's not like I don't know. Yeah, if I'm getting that terribly wrong. People should let us know. But obviously, so let's just catch up with the heckling from Martin. Thank Rafa for your biceps. Yeah, I mean Rafa's a hunk. You know, I didn't
see Rafa there though, was he?
No, but if he were going to do some objectification, wouldn't he be?
I see what you're saying. It's like a press thing, right? I see. Yeah.
That would be.
Yeah. A bit.
It's admittedly never going to happen.
It's never the same as a woman's, yeah.
So David Lammy, and I've got a tweet that kind of follows on quite well from this. Now, obviously, Romanian father, Chinese mother, you know, the whole question of immigration. It's not long since the Priti Patel's policy on sort of migrants has been in the news. Of course, this angle was going to come up, but you wanted a moment to kind of just take it in and sort of enjoy it. But you can't stop people working the angle. I mean, I would not always stop people working the angles, but you can't help but people work the angle. It's how they work. It's how they work the angles, though, and how, like for me anyway, how is it grandstanding? Are they making a valid point? Some people who've been conflating the US Emma Raducanu story with the migrant story, I feel have been a bit clunky. So I haven't included your tweets tonight. But you've picked out David Lammy's tweet, which is directly in response to Nigel Farage. So tell us what's going on here.
Well, so Nigel Farage is joining the clamouring, obviously. Yeah, he's right in what he says, but yeah, he said I don't know when he said this about not living next door to a Romanian.
I can't remember if it's during the actual during the whole sort of Brexit fandango.
Yeah.
Yeah. It certainly rings bells.
I mean, yeah, so I suppose now Nigel Farage is like, he loves it because she's British, but you know, when he said that statement, she wouldn't have been British. That's what that's about, I guess.
So, and then David Lammy in response as well, if you just want to read that one out as well.
Emma Raducanu is half Romanian. Hers is one of the countless stories that demonstrate the immense value migration brings to the UK. But you said I wouldn't want to live next door to a Romanian. You have no right to piggyback on her incredible success.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, Farage just uses this stuff for his own. But I mean, yeah.
So it's actually back in 2014 that he said this. Let's have a look. He was talking about.
So that was. Yeah.
So he added, I think it was on LBC. Surprise. Sorry, that's a bit unfair. I was asked if a group of Romanian men moved in next to you, would you be concerned? And if you lived in London, I think you would be, which is his exact quote. So I don't think it's like the word, you know, what David Lammy's extrapolated there. I don't think it's like a massive misrepresentation. It's a fair point for something that he's said, and you know, it definitely sort of underscores the sort of hypocrisy. I think there were a few people who were basically just. I mean, there were a lot of people who were sort of using it for their own sort of political ends, really last night. So I picked out a tweet from, I think it's a writer for Spectator, Unheard, and Quillette. So, you know, more. I'm not even sure if, certainly right of centre sort of publications often. And his spoof tweet, if you like, is I'd like to congratulate Emma Raducanu for her amazing vindication of my politics. Some doubted that this brave young woman could affirm my beliefs, but she rose above the sceptics and completely justified all of my ideological priors. And it is a kind of, I think it's like most people, once they've been appropriated by somebody for their ends, probably publicly, most often they sort of shrug it off and say, you know, people are entitled to their opinion or whatever it might be. It doesn't necessarily represent mine. And I'm sure Emma Raducanu will be, how reluctant she will be to sort of engage in this, I would have thought, because it is weird. So somebody on Facebook today, who I don't think of someone as anything other than quite a moderate person, picked up on Sadiq Khan's tweet, which was, well, let's find it actually. It's just wrong to talk about these things without finding it. And it's often what he sort of takes the opportunity to do, which is to take something that's happened in the news and, you know, refer it back to London. And in terms of, I hope it's on. I should have selected it. Really, I'm a bit naughty for not selecting it, aren't I? So I should have done. But he was basically saying what he often does, which is that, you know, London is a diverse city, and this isn't a fantastic sort of thing. And there's nothing really wrong with saying that necessarily. It's just that's not what the story.
No,
is about
I think
immediately, is it? It's about.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's totally. Like she's done something historic, seminal, never been done before, never happened before. It's incredible. She's absolutely blown everybody's minds here, and now we're hijacking it for political ends. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I know. I mean, but the thing is, it's almost. I mean, that's the thing about Twitter. That's almost inevitable that it's going to happen. So,
but it is, and that's the thing, isn't it? It's about like the Piers Morgan thing. I mean, somebody says black, somebody says white. It's just that's what it's there for, and that's what people want, and that's what people want to do. You can't say anything without somebody coming back at the other.
Yeah, well,
And like either you buy into it or you don't, I guess. But of course, somebody's gonna hijack it. It's
I suppose
yeah. She should just stay away from it.
yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is also that's true, but the difficulty now is that people realise that they have quite. It doesn't always work, but people do have a platform, and so celebrities have started to use their platform more and more. For various reasons, whether it's Steve Coogan and Hugh Grant during the election, or before that with Hacked Off, obviously,
Yeah.
and so on and so forth.
But I think that's right and fine. People should use their fame and their notoriety for what they think is good, and that's part of the pleasure of having a
platform.
a platform. But this is just a day of her. She's just won a sporting event. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you think that it's one of those things that in the moment you can obviously congratulate someone, and then maybe at some point you might just say, I don't know. At some point, it's going to be hard not to sort of use a figurehead in that way. I would have thought, because it's currency, really. It's.
So you're saying everybody who's got a platform will at some point be used as a pawn in some argument.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that's right.
No. I
Right.
completely agree. Yeah.
But I think it's
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's inherent in a
It's
sort
the
of
nature of the
culture.
beast.
Yeah, it's the nature of
Yeah.
the beast now, really.
Yeah, completely. No, I agree.
And anyone who can stand apart from that is, I suppose, it really depends. It really depends if they want to stand apart from that. But it's less and less easy if you've got particular views. I think even your conscience will now be saying to you, right, well, hang on, because of social media, I've got a much bigger platform, and I can at least have the illusion of making some difference or some change. Obviously, in the case of, for example, Marcus Rashford, it's not an illusion. It's actually sort of happened. But it really depends if it is. If you're Dua Lipa telling people to vote for Jeremy Corbyn, well, it didn't necessarily work. Although you could argue that a lot of people that she, in the age group that she was, nudging, were maybe we're going to vote for him anyway. I don't know. And then you can qualify just how much celebrity sort of interference actually makes a difference. But there are also sort of scenarios, case studies where it's probably been quite influential, really. I'd say so. What I'm trying to say in a very long-winded way is it must be quite hard. It must be quite hard to resist that now. If you're a public figure, years ago it would have been like, I don't really want to step out. I don't want to be known for this.
Yeah.
I mean, take the Beatles. Obviously, throughout their career, it was only later on when they were solo and established and all the rest of it that they were picking up, different sort of causes to some extent and adding their name to various things. Whereas now, I don't know. It's part.
Well, I think when you are present on social media, it feels like if you don't, what I don't like about it is like on Twitter when something happens, it feels like if you don't respond to that event or that, if there's a whipping up of something, it feels like if you're silent on that thing, then it means that you're either agreeing with something or disagreeing. Do you know what I mean? So like,
it's almost like guilty by association or something like
yeah,
that.
Yeah, and you get tarred. It feels like you're getting tarred with this. If you haven't said, oh no, that's terrible. Like not this, but like say if 9/11, if you didn't say, oh, what happened to 9/11 was terrible, then you don't think it was terrible. But which is so sort of simplistic, and just because you say something on social media, A, doesn't mean it's true and you believe it. And B, you can be saying stuff, there's a heck of a lot of virtue signaling goes on.
Mm.
And C, there is actually a life off social media where you can feel things and recognize things without having to push it all out in, I know it's more than 160 characters now, but whatever, 200
Yeah.
characters, whatever it is. But like, I find that really gross when it's like sometimes there feels like an outpouring, and it feels like if you don't join in, then you're kind of not
Yeah.
you don't feel that thing.
Well, that's really interesting for two reasons. One is that, so say, for example, I mean, some people but if someone has died, it might be celebrity generally, and it's like, I mean, everyone kind of obviously piles in and understandably, but it's sort of like sometimes you actually have to take a moment because it's quite a shock, and you feel that you need to sort of comment sooner rather than later, but you're also like, my God, that's really depressing, and I'd actually like a bit of time to sort of process that. But also when you mentioned September the 11th, I was just sort of thinking, I'm so glad we didn't have Twitter in when 9/11 happened. It would just been, I think maybe we would have found Bin Laden quicker somehow, though, I have to say. I mean, there'd probably be people tweeting in.
It did take a while, you're right.
But
I mean, yeah, but yeah, that sort of thing really. I hate the Twitter pylon. I think that's what I find that really disgusting, and I've trial by Twitter and all that kind of stuff. I think it's immoral.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, we could that. Well, okay,
Yeah.
I tell you what, that leads
Go on.
nicely to. There's two great tweets of yours that I want to revisit, but let's just do this one of mine and then I'll shut up. It's from Jeremy Vine. As viewers to this show will know, I am a slavish viewer of Jeremy Vine's Channel 5 show.
Are you?
Yeah, totally. I mean,
You're good. I've never seen it.
I love it. I mean, all of the sort of pundits now, they're like family. Them and the cast of Friends, they're essentially my family. Although, as soon as Jeremy starts talking about cycling, I just have to kind of go, la 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 la. But
Is that what he talks about?
I don't think he's a keen cyclist. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just don't think he should be dealing with any cycling news stories. And I don't
it's
think
very
I'm the only
boring.
one that believes that either. Anyway,
But how come? Just tell me this. Sorry.
go on.
He used to be quite sort of. He used to present Newsnight, didn't he?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So I'm going to say it's a little bit of a fall from grace presenting Newsnight to presenting the right stuff.
The right stuff. It's called Jeremy Vine, don't you know?
It's the right stuff, isn't
Well,
it?
yeah, of course, the right stuff. Yeah, of course. But well, look, still got his flagship show on Radio 2, and I think when Matthew Wright left that
Are you
job,
doing his
no,
PR?
I'm not doing his PR. No, I'm not. You can't, you can't watch it 5 days a week and not come away with some sort of affinity. But he's still got his Radio 2 show, and when this job came up, I mean, he was a really good fit for it, I have to say. And yeah, maybe you could see it like that, but I think that actually when his nature.
It just sort of feels like it's not as highbrow.
It's not. Well, it's not. It's not.
I've never seen it.
I guess it's not as. It's certainly not serious as Newsnight. But I mean, once you get to know Jeremy Vine through watching the show, you realise that he enjoys not being serious, and this gives him the leeway to sort of do that.
Yeah,
so
no, I get that.
Very
Yeah.
comfortable in it. So an interesting one is. So he tweeted from. This was today, actually, earlier today. So he tweeted, the revelation that sometimes people who might have different opinions meet up to eat Chinese food has completely shattered the worlds of Donaldsky, whatever the handle is there, and Joanna Saxon. The final reply here is just fabulous. So basically, we've got, it's a bit swivelly for some reason. So Calvin Robinson has tweeted this. Now he's you might well have seen him on GB News and on GMB as well. He sort of defund the BBC type. I don't necessarily agree with everything that Calvin said, but he's made some interesting points, certainly. So he's tweeted, good food and great company in Chinatown with these talking heads. Life's too short to live in fear. That's a COVID reference. Spend time with friends, hug your loved ones, live your best life. Well, that's all legal to do these days. So it's Jeremy Vine. It's Lucy Beresford, the psychologist who's quite often on the Jeremy Vine 5 Live show. Should be doing their PR, but I'm not. I think that's Nana Akua as well from GB News, but also a regular guest on Channel 5. I hope I haven't made an error. I'm sure that's Nana. The photo, I don't know who the lady is next to her. It's Calvin Robinson in the background. So, Donalski, Jeremy Vine, are you kidding? Worst person ever. Clearly doesn't like the fact. I mean, Lucy, for example, is a Conservative Party member, and Nana and Calvin are sort of more on the right of the political spectrum. So, Boomer Jabby Dodger, what the actual fuck? That man is a manipulative, set-out piece of shit. Oh, Jesus Christ. Two more. Donalski, this is the thing, they're all friends. Some pretending, possibly, to be on our side. Probably all a grift. And then the last, I'm not sure if we're going to get through this. The last one, Joanna Saxon. We can only save ourselves. None of these traitors are for the people. We need to start dismantling the system and creating a parallel society. Oh, Jesus Christ.
Joanna Saxon is an absolute cracker.
I feel a new character coming on.
That's great. I love it.
Oh, Jesus.
And I think the problem is, look at Donalski's blinking Twitter hand, the 2 vaccines.
Oh, God, yeah, well spotted.
This is the that I hate all that stuff. I find it so repulsive, all this infighting. And just conspiracy theories and all this kind of stuff. We need to start dismantling from the system and creating a parallel. Is she kidding?
Well, and obviously she's the person to do it. It's like, yeah, come on then.
Yeah.
Let's do it. Let us know how you do it.
It's the polarization. It's the polarization of everything. It's a black and white, and it's like people can have different views and be friends, and people can think one thing and also think another thing, and people can have a grey sort of mindset on things without being like 100% this or 100% that. It's just so tiring.
People need to be doing. They need to be doing this in real life. They need to be meeting each other, because it will, it will impact on their Twitter exchanges. And to be fair, which slightly contradicts what I said earlier about how people are on Twitter and how people are in real life. But actually, you have to accept that when people are, it's kind of at the heart of what this show is about. Although we have brought together different sort of views. When Sajila's doing this, and hopefully back at some point, we've had 2 guests, 2 sort of presenters, and we try and get people who are on slightly different parts of the political spectrum to sort of dismantle stuff, But yeah, it's sort of like, it's kind of insane, isn't it? Really,
it's totally insane, and
it's so warped that even the Twitter thread of this has actually warped as well. That's sort of very symbolic, really. Oh dear.
Lovely.
Anyway.
Yeah, I find it so depressing that life has gotten so sort of it's got just.
It's got very tribal. It always was tribal to some extent, but this is sort of
not like this.
No, not like this.
This is.
But there is a problem, though, isn't there? Because when you're on social media for long enough, Facebook or Twitter, you realise that there's a Venn diagram of views that people have that you just sort of think, oh, God, you find out things about people. So heroes don't last very long, because you find out in this super speedy way, what they believe or whatever it is. And I don't know. One of my best friends has views that I just would never share in a million years, really. And it's amazing that we are, as close as we are. But we joked that one day we're going to be sort of fighting in a civil war and be like, oh, all right, mate, from over the battle lines. But I don't know.
That's what they say on that documentary, The Social Dilemma, isn't it? That it is basically civil war.
Yeah, no, it's a great documentary, definitely. I can totally understand. Yeah, and it's sort of, I can understand your reasons for sort of keeping a reasonable distance. And over the last few weeks, I think I've been a little bit less sticking my toe into the pool of Twitter. But this show obviously makes me do that, and you know, it's sometimes it's more palatable than others, really. Let's.
Yeah, it is definitely.
All right, so you've picked out two. I mean, again, we would spend. Well, this is. I love Tom Newton Dunn. Actually, he's brilliant. Uh, and if I have been wrong and that wasn't Nana Akua, then this makes me as bad as Gavin Williams. Well, no, I was just saying of Jeremy Vine's tweet earlier when I was trying to identify everyone.
Oh, I
and I was
see.
like,
Right,
I'll
yeah,
be
yeah.
as bad as Gavin Williamson. But yeah, so Tom Newton Dunn is basically saying, yeah. So this is an interview that Gavin Williamson did in the Standard. I've got the hide of a rhino, so nothing can touch me. So this is unfortunate, says Tom Newton-John. Has Gavin Williamson ever met Marcus Rashford? We met over Zoom and he seemed incredibly engaged, compassionate and charming. Later, Williamson's team tell me he actually met the rugby player Maro Itoje, not Rashford. I mean, I'll just say one thing and then I'm going to shut up and leave it to you, which is that even if the obvious sort of race and identity issue, even without getting into that, you've got you should have known, because people do make mistakes, but with everyone. But on the other hand, in terms of identity, but you've got to know who Marcus Rashford is, surely.
Yeah, that's exact. But that was 100% my point. Basically, if you can get through this year without I'm not into football, but I 100% know. My mum knows who Marcus Rashford is. You know, how can you be an MP in the cabinet? And I mean, it's just what have you been? Where have you been? It's quite remarkable. Like, you can get by through life and not know what he looks like.
Well, yeah, totally. I mean, it's like being on telly enough and all the rest of it, and
he's like a major player.
Yeah.
And not I don't mean
both ways.
Football.
Really.
I don't mean a football player, but yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's just another sorry story of this lot, isn't it?
Well,
it's just a sort of bumbling sort of, again, the sort of comedy kind of hoopla of who we've got in charge.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, even if you accept, so I've worked in Parliament before, and I've worked for MPs, and I know that their life is not their own, and I think, and
I get that.
Yeah, and that wasn't even at ministerial level, so then it sort of just goes like.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Having said that, your job is to kind of have your sort of finger on the pulse, particularly for someone like Marcus Rashford, who's going to be so important to kids in schools, for example.
He's basically in politics, Marcus Rashford. So it's not like we're talking about Beyonce. I don't, like.
Well, I mean, from this kind, I mean, that would be maybe, if his popular culture kind of radar's not working, and he's, and
that's what I'm saying.
Not a UK act.
No, but that's what I'm saying. He's not just popular culture. He's political.
Yeah.
So there's just so much. Yeah.
I mean, he's made a few. Let's face it, he's made a few gaffes, and I probably should have lined up a picture of him next to Frank Spencer, because that's an old meme now. But there's a definite similarity. Not so much on that photo, but going by that interview, he's clearly got a very sort of breezy sort of demeanour, and therefore, he likes to kind of sail over sort of troubled waters. I mean, he was chief. I can't believe he was chief whip. Really, he just doesn't seem old enough to be a chief whip, but he was. So that basically means he knows where all the bodies are buried, the metaphorical ones in the Tory party.
Yeah.
So, no wonder he's still with us.
It's just a line in the weekly hoopla that is this lot and their boo boos.
Well, you're from the northeast, aren't you? Which is now part of the Blue Wall, isn't it?
I mean, hey, it's it's the forgotten north, isn't it? And we had the shipbuilding, we had mining, we had all that all gone now, and these people, these men largely have become irrelevant and forgotten, and we've got the Sunderland has got the Nissan factory, and that's kind of it. And then they voted to leave, and then now we have this. Yeah, it's not good.
Wasn't one of your shows sort of touching on some of the sort of political themes? I seem to remember a few years back. You sort of, I can't remember if you did touch on.
Didn't I?
Oh well.
I might have. There was one. Yeah, there was something about coal mining.
Right. Okay.
In the northeast. Yeah.
See, I do read the press releases. Right. So, comedy is our last story, in fact. So, fire away.
Well, so this is the Holden girls, Mandy and Myrtle, starts on E4 at 10 o'clock. The documentary style, in inverted commas, series follows Amanda Holden and her gran, in inverted commas, Leigh Francis. Now, I'll hold my hands up. I didn't watch it. Did you?
No, didn't. I thought it was just the announcement of a new series or a pilot or whatever, and
I didn't watch it, and I don't know if anybody. I did see some reviews, and they weren't kind.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to think. Oh, that's only 14. That got. I thought the numbers for this were actually better than some of the other tweets that we've discussed, or at least on one on one version of it. Anyway.
But I think this might have been around longer than the other ones.
It was a little by a few days. Oh yeah, it was. That's true. But I mean, you can just see, can't you, the quote tweets, the number of quote tweets to retweets is that says it all, I think.
Yeah, it does.
Oh man.
I mean, where do you start? Right.
You don't.
Okay.
Clearly, you don't.
You don't. Yeah. I mean, you don't, do you? Well, here's my thing. Well, I've got lots of things. How many series has Leigh Francis had? So many.
Quite a lot, yeah.
So many. He's probably had more series than I can't think of anybody else who's had as many different series as Leigh Francis.
Okay, well that's one for British. Find out from British Comedy Guide. Yeah.
But you can. But when you think about it, he has had loads of opportunities, right? But apparently he's a nice guy. And I'm not saying he shouldn't get these opportunities, but when you give him opportunities, you're not giving other people, perhaps, I don't know. Let's think about it. Newer talent.
Yeah.
People who haven't had opportunities before. People from different backgrounds. Maybe I don't know. I'm going to say it. Not white, middle-aged men. You know, we could mix it up a bit. What do you know?
Which, I mean, other shows absolutely have done. I think one of the issues here also that it's Amanda Holden in the sense that they, could they are they thinking, well, could they have given that to an up and coming,
I mean,
or a comedian?
Again,
I don't know. It's debatable that one, isn't it?
Yeah, I was reading about. I read something about it briefly, and it was saying how, and it was basically about the Amanda Holden thing, about how the last thing everything she's been involved in terms of acting, I think, or maybe it's comedy. I don't know if it was comedy specifically, have all been total duds. That thing called Big Top. Do you remember that? Yeah, it was about a circus or something. Anyway, so she picks her. She picks badly or they pick badly. I don't know. But also the thing is, here's the thing about this. Him dressing up as a woman, like, it just seems so. Mrs. Brown's Boys. It seems so kind of uninspired. Again, I've not seen it. I don't know. I quite like Leigh Francis and in a lot of things. I find him, because I kind of enjoy the
bawdiness to some extent.
Yeah, well, I don't enjoy the bawdiness, but I enjoy the sort of larger than life big character, and I think he can be really, really funny. Sometimes I think he can't be, but and he's sort of artistic and things. But it seems a bit Route One to be dressing up as an old woman, somebody's nan, when that seems to have been. Surely we're over that now. Surely there's.
I mean, was it just a one-off? No, hang on. Yeah, it's not.
No, it's a series.
It's a series, isn't it? Yeah, right. Okay.
It just seems this is not what we need right now. Again, I'm throwing stones. I've not seen it.
Yeah, no,
So
well,
maybe it is what we need. I don't know, but I would have just thought give somebody else a chance.
but that's what Twitter's about. Throwing a few stones, even if you haven't seen anything. Well, if you haven't read the
Exactly.
article.
I'm really getting involved in the fact that I've done no research and I'm going to have an opinion and really go for it.
I mean, to be fair, the last thing I saw Amanda Holden in was the Eurovision Song Contest, and it's like I don't know whether they saw that performance and thought, "Ah, brilliant! Her inability to not know French, that is just a win. That's a winner." I don't think and maybe unfairly, I don't really think of her as a sort of, comedy actress. But as you say, she has done stuff. So I mean, I haven't or lately because in terms of she's obviously gone through the whole kind of, reality talent contest and all the rest of it, and it's important. I suppose it's important to get out the other end of that and do what you have previously done before you get typecast.
Yeah,
but there you go.
Well.
So speaking of comedy, we're coming into land now. Where can people see you next? What should they do to get to feel the burn?
To feel a burn. I think they should follow me on all different. As I've just said, I'm terrible at social media, but they can go to my YouTube channel. That's always a good place to go and look for things. Or you can watch our show on Amazon Prime, or oh look, there's a little link to it there on Next Up.
Oh, cool.
Or on Thursday, I'm playing the Moth Club. And then keep an eye out for my pilot.
So where do we see that? Yeah, crucially the pilot that you mentioned earlier. Where?
Well, it's in the works, so I'm not sure yet. So I will. It will be revealed if you sign up to my newsletter on my website, hollyburn.org.uk. And Instagram, Hollyburn Comedy, Twitter, Hollyburn Comedy, Facebook, Hollyburn Comedy.
Fantastic. But yes, that's true. You are very consistent and over your handles, as it were. Yeah, great stuff. Brilliant. Nice one, Holly. Well, thank you. Don't disappear just yet and obviously hang back in the old green room, but I will just start saying goodbye to the viewers. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope you didn't mind my little vamping at the start there. I hadn't really eaten enough to be as funny as I could have been. I'll work on that for next week. That's fine. And you can obviously, please do follow us at LKT Zoom. Got Holly's details here. All of the details are scrolling above my head. Please join us next week again, same time, same place, for Harriet Brain, and I'll be putting out details of that soon. Holly's show will be on. This show will be on Beyond Streams, and I'll be Martin. I'll be updating the streams on Facebook and YouTube with all the info, and so you can watch this on record, and please share with other people, obviously. It will also be available as a podcast just as soon as I can get that done, and we'll be doing clips ASAP. So that's it, guys. Thanks very much for joining us, and we will just both wave you good night. Good night, streamers.